Hello, everybody. I'm going to wait just a minute. I see a number of people are still joining, so we'll wait till a few more people get connected and then we'll get started. Okay, I think it's time to get started. Hello and welcome to the National Institute of Food and Agriculture virtual stakeholder listening session for the new Laying Hen and Turkey Research Competitive Grant Program. My name is Deb Hammernick, and I currently serve as the Deputy Director for the Institute of Food Production and Sustainability at NIFA. I'm an animal scientist by training, and I joined NIFA in 2020 as Director of the Division of Animal Systems before moving into the Deputy Director role in November 2020. The virtual listening session is being conducted to obtain stakeholder input to help NIFA staff develop the request for applications for this new competitive grant program. NIFA plans to implement this program by supporting one or more research projects for improving the efficiency and sustainability of laying hen and turkey production through integrated collaborative research and technology transfer. The purpose of this meeting is to capture comments from stakeholders external to NIFA. Please note this meeting will be recorded, and a link to the archived recording will be posted on the NIFA website. We'll show you that URL later in this presentation. I would now like to introduce other NIFA staff that will be working on this program. Dr. Bob Godfrey currently serves as Director, Division of Animal Systems at NIFA, and he will provide information regarding the authorizing legislation for this new laying hen and turkey research program in just a minute. The national program leaders that will be administering this program are Dr. Kathy Bork, she's in the Division of Animal Systems, and Dr. Frank Seward, also in the Division of Animal Systems. There's two program specialists that are providing a great deal of support for logistics for this meeting behind the scenes. They are Pushpa Katir and Daniel Farley, both in the Animal Systems Division. So if I can have the next slide, please, I'll turn it over to Bob and let him proceed.
Thank you, Deb, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the listening session for the Laying Hen and Turkey program. This is a program that is funded through the FY23 Omnibus Appropriation. It's to support research grants for the purpose of improving the efficiency and sustainability of laying hen and turkey production through integrated collaborative research and technology transfer. The emphasis is on disease prevention, antimicrobial resistance, nutrition, gut health, and alternative housing systems under extreme seasonal weather conditions. Partnerships will be given a priority. Following the completion of a peer review process for grant proposals received, the Secretary shall provide a priority to those grant proposals found in the peer review process to be scientifically meritorious that involve the cooperation of multiple entities. The eligibility for this program is research institutions who support research into laying hen and turkey production. The total appropriations for this program are $1 million. Next slide, please. There is a matching funds requirement and a waiver option as well. According to the program authorization, an entity receiving a grant in this program shall provide non-federal matching funds, and this includes funds from agriculture commodity promotion, research, and information programs equal to not less than the amount of the grant. The Secretary may waive the matching funds requirement if the Secretary determines that the results of the project are of a particular benefit to a specific agricultural commodity, but those results are likely to be applicable to agricultural commodities in general, or the project involves a minor commodity and deals with scientifically important research, and the recipient is unable to satisfy the matching fund requirement. Next slide, please. The virtual stakeholder listening session guidelines are shown here. This is an opportunity for stakeholders to provide input to development of the request for applications, otherwise known as the RFA. Each participant may speak for up to 3 minutes. NIFA staff will keep track of the time. The intent of the session is for input and guidance. It's not a Q&A session. The Zoom venue will be available until 2 p.m. Eastern time, and NIFA staff will be present for any interactions. Next slide, please. There is an opportunity for written comments as well. Excuse me, that is optional. Written comments will be accepted until Friday, February 24th, 5 p.m. Eastern time. All written comments should be submitted to the email address shown on the screen, nifa.lht@usda.gov, and please limit the written comments to 2 pages. Next slide. And at this time, I will turn the presentation over to Kathy Bjork, who will go over some more information regarding the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. This is Kathy, and I am the NPL along with Frank, as Deb noted earlier. The timeline for this program is kind of compressed for those of you who are used to working with NIFA programs. The appropriation was made in the omnibus bill in December of 22, and the funding needs to be obligated by the end of fiscal year 23. And so you'll see the final awards and start date for these projects will be in September of 23. Today, we're taking stakeholder input in this listening session, and we're also taking the written comments, as Bob said, through February 24th. The RFA will be developed and posted in the spring of 23. The application deadline will also be in the spring of 23, and we don't have absolute dates for those yet. We will be undertaking a peer review process, as this is a competitive grant, and the review will be done in the summer of 23, and the final awards will be made in September of 23. So this is a compressed timeline for us. Next slide, please. We want to express our appreciation for you joining this morning. Want to encourage you to provide written comments to the email that Bob noted earlier by 5 p.m. Eastern time on February 24th. The website for the program is cited here, and it will be posted again throughout the listening session. If you would go to the next slide, please, Danielle. This is the USDA non-discrimination information slide. In accordance with federal civil rights law and USDA regulations and policies, the USDA and all agencies and employees are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income from a public assistance program, or political beliefs. We've listed the contact information for individuals with disabilities to request reasonable accommodations, that language access services will be provided upon request, and that anyone wishing to file a complaint can utilize the contact information on the slide. At this point, I think I'll be turning it over to Danielle, who will be explaining the process that we'll take today to receive your comments.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Danielle Farley, and I'm going to cover logistics for today. So we look forward to hearing from you in this virtual listening session. As mentioned, this session is being recorded and will be posted on our webpage within 2 weeks. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. We will put a timer on the screen so you can see when your time is up. If you go over the 3 minutes, you will be muted, so please be concise and plan your time accordingly. As a reminder, we will be accepting written comments until 5 p.m. Eastern Time on February 24th via email at nifa.lht@usda.gov. This email has been posted in the chat and will be posted periodically throughout today's listening session. Again, written comments are limited to 2 pages. We ask that you do not use the chat function for comments today. Instead, please send your feedback to us via email. And again, so this listening session is not a question and answer session. Our team will take your comments to direct the RFA, but will not answer any of your questions in today's session. To participate, we ask that you use your emoji raise hand function that you should see at the bottom of your screen. Raising your emoji hand will put you in line, so to speak. If you click on the participants function at the bottom of your screen, you should see the order of speakers by clicking on attendees. Kathy or Frank will call on each speaker, and when it is your turn to speak, I will unmute your microphone and allow for you to turn your camera on if you wish. At the end of the 3 minutes, I will mute your microphone and remove your camera sharing ability. You are welcome to remain on this listening session as long as you'd like. We plan to be on this virtual listening session for the entire 2 hours today. During moments of a pause, we will allow for people who previously spoke to speak again, if so desired. If you have questions or issues with logistics that I just covered, please message all panelists using the chat function. So with this, let's get started. It looks like some of you have already started to raise your hands, and I will pass that back along to Kathy.
Thank you, Danielle. At this point, I see that we do have some hands raised, so I will be calling on them in the order that I see them in the attendees tab. So please make sure to raise your hand and see your name there. Our first speaker with a raised hand is Mohammed El Ghazar. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Mohammed, please go ahead.
Yes, this is correct. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mohammed El Ghazar. I'm a poultry diagnostician here at Iowa State University Veterinary Diagnostic Lab. My input is that the goal of poultry medicine and poultry veterinarians in general is to combat infectious disease, particularly towards prevention, control, and eradication. And it is our precise understanding of these infectious agents epidemiology in terms of their pathogenicity, their source of infection, their transmission patterns that allows us to develop effective prevention, control, and eradication practices. There are many infectious agents that cause disease in poultry, including but not limited to infectious coryza caused by Avibacterium paragallinarum, ORT, Ornithobacterium monotrachealis, reovirus, Pasteurella multocida, infectious laryngotracheitis, infectious bronchitis, and even foodborne infections like Salmonella and Campylobacter that lack proper diagnostic assays that allows us to identify them and characterize them for the purpose of understanding their epidemiology. And my input is to advocate for funding towards studying these pathogens for the better understanding of their epidemiology through developing and validating advanced diagnostics to identify and characterize them and understand their source of infection, transmission pattern, so that we can develop and help the industry develop better prevention, control, and eradication methods. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer questions if that's allowed.
I think at this point, Mohammed, we won't be having the participants engage in discussion. We'll just take your comments, and if folks want to reach out to you, I suspect they can find you. If not, they can reach out to us.
All right, I will rescind the rest of my time then.
Okay, thank you very much for those comments and the importance of diagnostics. Okay, the next name that I see in the queue is Zachary Simons. Zachary, please go ahead. Zachary, it looks as though you're still muted. Can you unmute?
I can. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for giving me the time to chat. My name is Zachary Simons, and I'm actually a board member for the Midwest Poultry Consortium. I currently work with Adiseo as a poultry business manager here in the Midwest. As one of the stakeholders who advocated for this program to receive funding, it should be noted that the Midwest Poultry Consortium worked with Congress to establish a program that could essentially fill the void of a similar program that NIFA administered back in 2002 to 2010. This was called the Midwest Poultry Research Program. The Laying Hen and Turkey Research Program is a program that MPC, the Midwest Poultry Consortium, advocated for and was included in the 2018 Farm Bill and finally funded in the most recent appropriation cycle. One of the most important but often overlooked aspects of this type of funding is how it can engage students and energize the poultry industry with poultry research at land-grant institutions. In the late 90s, the Midwest Poultry Consortium was created specifically due to the loss of poultry science departments at various land-grant universities, where departments closed or merged into generic animal science departments. A lot of poultry institutional memory was lost as researchers moved to other specialties and took grad students with them. When research like the Laying Hen and Turkey Research Program is available to poultry researchers, they often engage students to work on projects of priority interest to the laying hen and turkey industries. Not only is this funding have the ability to address critical needs, but it can also help educate the future of the poultry industry. It not only energizes interest in poultry among researchers, but also students as well, with the hopes that those students will then be likely to stay and engage in the poultry industry upon graduation and strengthen the research community supporting poultry. I would encourage you to speak with the Midwest Poultry Consortium President, Beth Nelson. She worked with the agency on similar types of research programs over the last 25 years to discuss how best to meet the intent of the industry stakeholders who work to get this annual funded program, the initial $1 million. And that's all I have, but thank you so much for giving me time to talk.
Great, thank you very much, Zachary, for those comments. It's very helpful to have the history and some of the gaps that you and your group have noted. Next on our list is Greta Irwin. Greta, if you are on, please go ahead. Greta, it looks like you've gone unmuted.
Hi, thank you. So I'm with the Iowa Turkey Federation, so I represent the turkey farmers in Iowa, and we're really excited about this opportunity to have some other additional resources for funding to help support the questions that our turkey farmers have on their day-to-day operations and within their farms to better raise their turkeys, better care for their turkeys, and provide a safe and wholesome product to our customers. So when I look at this question of additional research and the scope of this project, there's three real strong areas that come to mind that are of interest to the turkey farmers. Vaccines obviously become much more important to our industry with the loss of so many strains of antibiotics and other sources to help keep our turkeys healthy. And so there continues to be those questions of how do we use vaccines and control things like ORT, dermatitis, coccidiosis, and other health concerns that are plaguing the health of our turkeys. Another area that is crucial to keeping a turkey healthy is nutrition. So what form of feed is best right now? As we see so many soybean crush plants coming online, specifically here in the Midwest, how can turkeys use those products coming from the soybean crush plants in their diets? How does this product help or hurt their gut health? And how do we continue to keep those diets meeting the genetic changes and enhancements that we're finding in today's turkeys? So how do we best feed the turkeys a cost-effective diet as we're seeing increased costs for fats and other ingredients? What is that cost benefit into that? diet. So lots of questions around nutrition and feed and meeting the needs of today's turkeys. The last issue that our industry obviously looks at is depopulation strategies. That might be pushing the boundaries a little bit of this project, but depopulation doesn't only happen during disease outbreaks like high path AI. There might be other times during high heat, disease outbreaks, things like that, that birds need to be depopulated. That would be the third area that we're have some thoughts or interest in some of the research money that is proposed here today. So I thank you for this opportunity to share some of our ideas, and I appreciate the Midwest Poultry Consortium coming up with the funding and USDA working to help support Iowa's turkey industry.
Very good. Thank you very much, Greta, for those. Those are excellent comments. I know vaccines and nutrition depopulation are in the face of high path AI and some of these other agents are pretty important right now. So thank you very much for those comments. Next on the list, we have Ravi Kulkarni. Ravi, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this exciting opportunity, and I really appreciate the USDA and NIFA for this research funding and the encouragement. So I'm at the North Carolina State University College of Veterinary Medicine as assistant professor, and what we are focusing here is basically to study infectious diseases affecting chickens and turkeys, and develop alternatives to antibiotics, which are mostly focused on probiotics as well as the vaccines. And my interests are in Clostridial pathogens. So I work with the chickens with necrotic enteritis, and on the turkey side, I focus on Clostridial dermatitis. Just I'm trying to echo some of the previous speakers, the importance of infectious diseases, particularly in the turkey production. And then we know the cellulitis, also called the Clostridial dermatitis, gangrenous dermatitis, has become a major problem, particularly, phasing away from the antibiotics or the availability of the antibiotics to treat. So one of my ideas here to share is how we can come up with the novel vaccines. And one of the ideas also we are working on, we have a disease reproduction model that we have established with the help from the US poultry funding. And this model has been used to understand the immunology point of view, as well as how we can screen efficacious products. And in that regard, what we have done is we have focused on Clostridium septicum, one of the two major Clostridial pathogens. And we have also focused on a toxin, because we know that if we can prevent the toxin-induced damage, then we can control the disease. So my laboratory so far has identified the non-toxic domains of this toxin. And then we have produced some subunit vaccines, which are recombinant proteins. And also our future directions are that, we can use some of the probiotic strains such as lactobacillus as vaccine vectors, where we can actually clone and express these Clostridial genes, so that eventually we would like to have a probiotic-based vaccine that can be given orally to turkeys, which will have two benefits. One is providing probiotic benefits by itself, which is an inherent quality, as well as express, some of these Clostridial protective proteins that can protect or induce neutralizing antibodies and control this disease. So this is an approach which is, two-in-one approach, and I think this is pretty going to be the future efficacious vaccine. So I stop here.
Great. Thank you very much, Ravi. Those were very helpful comments. And I know that Clostridial diseases are very important in turkeys. So I appreciate the work that you're doing and your comments today. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next speaker, and next in line is Yuko Sato.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, I work at Iowa State. I'm in extension and diagnostics. So I really appreciate the opportunity where there's a funding source that prioritizes research in some of these topics that have already been discussed by previous speakers, and also the importance of extension. Just want to point out that, as the other speakers have mentioned, because of the size of the industry, the layer industry and the turkey industry have very limited funding opportunities that get outcompeted by some of the larger grants for broiler industry. And we are already limited in options for treatment and prevention of these diseases. So I'm advocating for importance of these infectious diseases, especially for these longer lived birds. And oftentimes, some of these priorities have been given to some of these disease issues that are of human impact. And some of these diseases get neglected as far as the basics of the research, including characterization, identification, diagnostics, and then prevention and control strategies. So some of these agents have already been mentioned, but I will highlight a few that come to my mind. Some of these semi-emerging diseases, such as reovirus, both in turkeys and also in chickens, ORT, which is also a problem in turkeys as far as production issues, but also a problem in breeders, broiler breeders, and also in layers as far as production issues. Avibacterium paragallinarum, and some of these issues that have been endemic for a while, which haven't been successful in finding, a good prevention and control strategies, such as infectious laryngotracheitis, infectious bronchitis virus, and Pasteurella multocida. And I think is a good opportunity to update some of these disease detection, prevention, and control strategies and other mechanisms to identify new and creative ways in order to address these solutions. And I think having these larger opportunities for grant opportunities can provide these new next level stages of researchers to provide funding opportunities to have higher graduate students that'll be interested in working in the poultry research arena in the future. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity and my presentation.
Great, thank you very much, Yuko. And thanks for pointing out the differences in the poultry industries and the challenges that layers and turkeys have compared with broilers. I also appreciate your comments on the importance of education and getting more students into the pipeline, and in our schools, getting schools into the pipeline as well for education. So thank you. I think we'll move on to the next person, Dave Hazeman. Dave, are you there?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Thank you for this opportunity this morning. Again, my name is Dave Hazeman. I am a board member of the Midwest Poultry Consortium. I also serve as the Director of Production for Roseacre Farms. We have locations from Hawaii all the way across the U.S. to North Carolina. And as a stakeholder who has advocated for this laying hen and turkey research program, I want to go on record and say that it's like to see this funding go to as many researchers as possible. It just helps spread the research out, the dollars, and just makes a much larger impact for the poultry industry as a whole. With the official description of the laying hen turkey research program being a competitive grant program designed to improve the efficiency and sustainability of the laying hen and turkey production through integrated collaborative research and technology transfer, I believe the key word there is collaborative. The impact on the poultry industry would be much greater if we essentially use this funding to ignite interest in poultry among as many researchers as possible, encourage collaboration among them to solve some of the industry's most critical problems that we are facing today. I too, along as Zachary Simmons has spoke earlier, would encourage you to speak with the MPC President Beth Nelson. She has worked with our agency on similar types of research programs for many years, and to discuss how best to meet the intent of our industry stakeholders who work with this annually funded program that has been established. I appreciate this opportunity this morning, and just appreciate all that you all do for us. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Dave. I think we'll move on to the next speaker, and that's Erica Machtinger.
Great, thank you so much. So my name is Erica. I'm a veterinary entomologist at Penn State, and I wanted to take this opportunity, and thank you so much for it, to encourage the USDA to include the importance of ectoparasites in this RFA. So understanding ectoparasites is an essential aspect of promoting poultry health because of their significant impact that they have, especially on layer production. And as we move from cage to cage free or different housing situations, ectoparasites like lice, mites, flies, bed bugs can cause a range of health problems in poultry, including skin irritation, feather loss, anemia, and decreased egg production, which can lead to significant economic losses for poultry producers and also obviously animal welfare concerns. Infestations by parasites can also predispose birds to secondary bacterial infections, can compromise bird immune systems, and make them susceptible to other diseases and conditions. We also know that ectoparasites can also transmit various pathogens to poultry, which can have devastating effects on flock health and productivity, and can also be food safety concerns. For example, during the avian influenza outbreak this past year, flies were not even considered as a potential method for virus distribution, even though influenza virus on a fly has been shown to infect naive chickens. Flies are highly mobile, and they are known mechanical vectors of many other pathogens. Effective control measures for ectoparasites are essential for maintaining good animal welfare standards and reducing the use of antibiotics in poultry production, which is also an important goal for sustainable agriculture. So my summary, I guess, is understanding ectoparasites and implementing appropriate control measures is crucial for promoting the health and well-being of poultry and assuring the sustainability of the poultry industry. And I strongly hope this will be considered in this RFA. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Erica. And I think we'll move on to the next person. That's Paul Chen. Paul, are you, oh, there you are, unmuted.
Yeah, thank you for holding this listening sessions. My name is Paul Chen. I am a faculty member in Biosystems Engineering at the University of Minnesota. So I'm here to advocate development of a physical method as opposed to a chemical method for sanitization or deodoring of barn airs to reduce airborne pathogens and improve the welfare of chickens, turkeys, and workers. So we have been doing research in inactivations of avian influenza virus using non-thermal plasma and microwave technologies for some years. We know many airborne pathogenic microbes can travel a long distance, so we should invest more in developing a smart ventilation systems for barns to reduce contaminants inside the barns and also prevent spread of pathogens among barns, between barns, and some could be in miles. So we would also like to collaborate with others to evaluate the effectiveness of such systems. With that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to provide my input. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. I think we'll move on to the next person, and that is Elizabeth Bobeck.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Liz Bobeck. I'm an associate professor at Iowa State University. I would like to echo a few of the comments that have been said earlier by both Dave Haseman and Dr. Sato, that this is a typically kind of smaller pool of research and the funding has not been available. So the program is very, very exciting. Thank you for having this listening session. I would like to remind the group of the importance of forward-thinking technologies that could be put in place for things that might be coming at specifically the turkey and egg industries in the future in terms of welfare concerns. We've already seen in the broiler industry that there are different standards that are now requiring different sorts of enrichment or other sorts of opportunities in the housing systems that consumers are also kind of demanding and looking for different ways to make the quality of life during the raising period better for the poultry. So one of the things that wasn't clear in the RFA was the opportunity to work on some welfare, behavioral enrichment, or other sorts of things in both the layer and the turkey industry. And I think including some sort of language that would allow technologies or other sort of behavioral assays that would help us understand how the birds are behaving and how we can improve welfare during the grow-out cycle would be very forward-thinking and important. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Okay, I think we'll move on to Jesse Grimes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for taking my comments. And again, I'd like to reiterate that all good comments we've heard today. So I appreciate everyone's input. So my comments are turkey today, we need to understand gut health. I know this is a wide window of opportunity, and it is. Everything from parasites, including cocci, to understanding the bacterial makeup of a bird's situation and how we can make that a healthier bird. Going down this road is going to enlist a lot of people, everyone from nutritionists, physiologists, just right on down the list. A lot of people couldn't be involved in understanding the gut health of the bird. Another area that I think is very important is welfare, which has already been brought up. And from that standpoint, we can see a lot of mortality in turkeys comes from the behavior of the bird, especially in tom flocks late in the cycle. They can get very aggressive, as we all know, and understanding how we can moderate that behavior, I think, can go a long ways to improving livability on these farms. So that's another area. And the other area is we talk about biosecurity a lot. And we talk about it and we talk about it, and then we have the diseases break out, everything from ones that I've already mentioned, including avian influenza, and we keep talking about biosecurity. So I think it's important for people to come together and understand how these diseases are getting on farms. That we keep telling them, we ask them what they're doing, and everybody's doing what they're asked to do, but they still have a disease outbreak. So understanding how diseases get on these farms, so we can then help turkey producers fix that problem, I think is very important. So those are my comments, and I appreciate you letting me have my say. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, Jesse. Okay, I think we'll move on to Peter Furcat. Peter, you're still muted.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. There you are.
Yes, my name is Peter Furcat. I'm the department head in the Prestige Department of Poultry Science at North Carolina State University. And in addition to some of the things that Dr. Grimes already mentioned, I think there are some things to maintain the sustainability of our layer and turkey industry is people. And so the career pipeline development, getting more people to work in this industry that is trained, competent, and very aware of the needs of the industry. Another one is related to incubation and gender sorting. Both layers and turkeys really depend upon sorting genders. And if we can do that in ovo or some aspect of other types of in ovo technology to prepare our turkey and a layer industry to become much more sustainable, everything from meat yield to in terms of disease resistance, etc., leading with early nutrition and development type things, which is related to some of the in ovo technology. And also, it's where we make money. It's in the egg products and turkey meat products. And I think there's a significant need in dealing with some of the processing of these eggs and turkey products, preparing safe food as an important component. And I think the last link is related to the concept of sustainability, however you want to define it. There are a lot of different things that are involved with that, from an environmental emissions perspective, odors, etc., and also some of the technology that might be related to mitigating some of the spread of diseases that could be related to smart technologies. And also it's related to the labor. It's just robotics, things in houses that can be modified or advanced, and precision technology, everything to evaluate disease outbreaks and maybe see, using this technology to forecast situations, systems modeling, that allow us to make decisions more quickly. All of these things I think could be of great benefit in this. And finally, $1 million just nearly not enough, I think, but it's a good start to have that. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I think we'll move on now to Carol Cardona.
Hello, I'm Carol Cardona from the University of Minnesota, the Pomeroy Chair in Avian Health. And this question or this comment goes to the structure of the grants. As several of our speakers have noted, there's been a long time gap in some types of funding availability and funding success, frankly, for layer and turkey research, and the need to bring people together, I think, around ideas that are common might be part of what's needed. So I'm going to suggest that I think we're all thinking that this is going to be for this funding will be available for full research proposals. But I think conference funding, startup or seed funding, integrated projects and doctoral and postdoctoral fellowships are potentially some of the areas that would be needed to really gear up the research, research groups and to bring together people around common ideas that could be further developed into impactful research proposals. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Carol. At this time, I don't see anyone else in the queue to request a 3-minute. Oh, I do see some starting now. I see Rich Gates. Rich, would you like to speak? Hi, Rich, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, but
Now I can hear you.
all right. Thank you for the opportunity to give a quick talk. I really enjoyed all the comments from my predecessors here, and I agree with all of them. And as Peter said at the end, $1 million is not going to go very far. I'm with the Egg Industry Center. We're located at Iowa State, but we run a North American research program specifically to the laying hen and egg industry. We fund competitive grants, and from the layout of this this program, I would offer the services that we have because we have you're going to be on a very tight timeline. We have a solid network of peer reviewers, a solid network of people around Canada and the US that have done research for us over the last 12 years, and a strong track record. We work with the Midwest Poultry Consortium to help get this funding in place. And I just want to make sure you realize of our potential here and our willingness to work with you to try to make this a positive and bigger program down the road. There's just in the area of sustainability, I can spend $10 million and barely make a poke at it. So prioritizing this first year so that we don't turn away interested parties is going to be very important. I think that needs to be articulated well in the RFA itself so that we don't get too many hopes up and then get disappointment, because we've got a lot of keen interest, and even at a 50% match, we're talking $2 million. So thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you, Rich. At this time, we'll go to Eniope Oluwayinka. Did I say that right? I hope I didn't mangle that.
Yes, you said it right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Eniope.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Eniope Oluwayinka, a postdoctoral associate at the Mycoplasma Lab here at the Poultry Diagnostic and Research Center at the University of Georgia here in Athens. I want to thank you for having this listening section, and I just want to talk a little bit in support of the previous people that have spoken about on infectious diseases that affect chickens and turkeys. Avian mycoplasmosis is is one of the diseases that affect chickens and turkeys. We have the Mycoplasma gallisepticum and synovial that affects their respiratory system, the reproductive system, and including the joint, which overall affects the productivity of this bird. And it is going to be important that research into mycoplasmosis is sponsored. Currently, there are vaccines against Mycoplasma gallisepticum in the US, but there are no licensed vaccines against Mycoplasma synovial. Also, another concern is the shedding of the vaccine strain and the reversion to virulence of this vaccine strain among flocks. It is therefore important that research be encouraged for vaccines that would be shed less, if at all, among vaccinated flock, and also for vaccines that might be administered in ovo, just to reduce the stress in poultry production. Thank you again for listening. And that's all.
Very good. Thank you, Aniope. At this time, we'll move on to Sean Madison.
Hello, thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure to hear all the other comments. My name is Sean Madison, and I'm with InnovaFeed, a leading insect ingredient producer and founding member of the Center for Environmental Sustainability through Insect Farming. One aspect that we'd suggest pushing for as part of this program is the inclusion of benefits of alternative feed ingredients, especially insect-based ones, in further research. One of the barriers we've found is that many producers advertise all vegetarian diets to their as part of their value proposition to consumers, which A, does not align with natural avian diets, and B, it leaves health, performance, and great sustainability strides on the table as a result. So we believe that alternative ingredients, as well as especially the insect-based ones, can be a part of a more sustainable and more performance solution down the line.
Very good. Thanks, Sean. Was that the end of your comments then?
Yes, that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. We'll go on to Beth Nelson.
Thank you. I'm Beth Nelson. I am president of the Midwest Poultry Consortium. Midwest Poultry Consortium was the association that, or stakeholder that had the Midwest Poultry Research Program previously, which was a NIFA-based program. Our Dr. Rich Reynolds was the NIFA program lead on that, and that went from 2002 through 2010. That project funded 60 researchers in 19 states with over $4.6 million in federal funding over that period of time. The projects ranged from $3,770 to just under $100,000, keeping in mind that that was 13 years ago, and costs certainly have escalated since then. We did work to get this program we recognize that it is slightly different than that, because that was an earmark, and this is under the high priority research in the Farm Bill. And having said that, though, the rest of the program is really could really be quite similar to what we had in place before. Lots of research, lots of students, was very impactful for the industry. At that time, we did accept cash match, not just in-kind match on that. And so that 4.6 million turned into just over $6 million in actual cash match and federal appropriation. We've worked very hard on this. It's been a long time since that earmark ended in 2010. It's taken us 13 years. And so we're very pleased to finally have the first start. Needs to be recognized that it is only $1 million. So in some of the language that we worked with Congress to put some emphasis language in there, You have captured that in your notice about the meeting with laying hen and turkey disease prevention, antimicrobial resistance, nutrition, gut health, and alternative housing systems under extreme seasonal weather conditions. This listening session has been very valuable. There's a lot of other things that people have brought up, but we do need to keep in mind at this point, it is only $1 million. This is also a program that is not base funding. The funding will need to be asked for each year. And that process is already just getting underway for the next round of appropriations cycle. With that, I think that is my only comment, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity.
Very good, thank you. Beth, can you hear me? Oh, I was getting an echo there. Next up is Martin Draper. Martin, are you? I don't see your hand still up. Can you? I'm not sure we have Martin still with us. I'm going to move on to Jessica Koslow. Jessica, are you there?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity, and this has been such a wonderful sharing session. I'm really feeling the camaraderie in this community. Yeah, my name is Jess Koslow. I'm a poultry producer at the Stone Barn Center for Food and Agriculture in New York. We do a lot of research with breed varieties. And something that I would love the RFA to include and focus on, and these are things that have been mentioned previously by other speakers today, is for a focus on breed diversity, specifically in laying hens. We have been, over the last few years, been able to do some small scale research on how the selection of laying hen breed can actually increase a lot of production, whether it's egg or meat quality, but also the responses to things like invasive species control, using them for land degradation purposes. There is a lot of research out there, but when you start to look into the capabilities and sustainabilities of laying hens in any kind of small to large system, the breed is usually the same. And I think what we're seeing after years and years in the evolution of infectious diseases is that you start to lose integrity in a lot of these conventional, overpopulated, genetically modified breed selections. And so sourcing a diverse breed, finding different breeders, encouraging hatcheries to focus on gene selections and positive breeding practices is something that we're really trying to encourage, and it is difficult. Once you start to go outside the scope of conventional selection of diverse breeds, it starts to get very expensive. Something else that we focus on here that I would love to also be included in the RFA is focusing on nutrition, specifically alternative feed sources. As a producer and as other people in the industry are seeing a very natural rise and sometimes an unnatural rise in grain costs that are affected by a conglomerate of issues. And so we've also been trying to do some research on how breed variety of laying hens responds to alternative feed sources. And it's a very complicated and messy, but possibly very impactful for the future of this industry for large and small producers. And in turn, I think it's much more sustainable to have more of a consistency that could include more localized feedstuffs for laying hens. And with that, I just want to say thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you, Jessica. And I think at this time we're going on to Anup Kolanur-Jani. Anup, are you there? I see that you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. I'm Dr. Anup Kolanur-Jani, an associate professor of interventional food microbiology and safety at the University of Minnesota. And I'm the Minnesota site coordinator for the Midwest Poultry Consortium Center of Excellence program. From the research side, we work in teams on various alternatives to antibiotics to control and eliminate different serotypes of Salmonella and E. coli strains that are circulating emerging and historically present in our production and processing facilities. I do echo the need to investigate alternatives such as new probiotics, prebiotics, vaccination strategies, phytobiotics, and others against salmonella and other organisms in our production systems. And we also need effective and comparable measures for existing antibacterials in our processing facilities, focusing on finding sustainable alternatives, if I can say that. And another aspect of food safety in Turkey and layer industries is the existing issue of drug-resistant pathogens such as Salmonella and Campylobacter, and emergence of multi-drug resistant strains. So mitigation strategies to reduce the resistance fingerprints in our production and processing facilities are a pressing need. From the context of understanding how we can reduce these issues on the sustainability of our industries. The third thing is that I teach several courses completely online, including HyFlex and new models. I also would echo with my peers who said things about teaching, about the integration of our students and their learning experience and educational approaches to teach our students, especially focusing our new generation workforces in layer and Turkey research that can be useful for meeting the industry workforce needs. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Anna. At this time, I'm going to turn the moderator's role over to Frank Siewert, the other national program leader. Frank, are you there?
Yes, I am, Kathy. Thank you
Thanks,
very much
Frank.
for the great job so far, and I'm enjoying here all the contributions. We have just about 125 attendants here at the session, and I appreciate everybody that's stepped up and provided comments so far. So we'll continue with the same process here. The next speaker on the line is Lingying Zhao. Still muted. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to involve in the input to this RFI. I'm excited to see for a long time this RFI specifically for poultry layer, turkey health. What I try to advocate is the importance of engineering air quality research. I'm a professor at Ohio State University, Food Bio Agriculture Environment, Agriculture Engineering Department. I work on the animal facility environment control and air qualities. Because we all know every time we think about the disease, for example, the current HPI, we think about this vaccine, and medication, biosecurity, sometimes use a chemical disinfectant. But currently, all of these seems like cannot effectively stop the transmission of the pathogens. So, for example, another one is colibacillosis and E. coli infection. You don't have too many medicine to to control that. Sometimes it's just not an option. We all know the virus and sensitive to temperatures. In the cold months, this human COVID, right? You have more increased instance of the infections, and some salmonella transmissions likely happen more in the hot summer. So this environment condition, the temperature, really affect all this disease too. And then also we know dust is a common air pollutant in this animal productions. Dust particle can carry all this bacteria and pathogens. So transport of the dust particle can, serve as a carrier of the to transport all this disease. So control that is important. So what I'm trying to say is, in addition to a vaccine, medicine, which put it, even importance on engineering research to improve the indoor environment, like a previous speaker talked about, increase good ventilation, understanding the transport of the disease, and to control the dust particles, to deactivate all this pathogen using engineering control, even using some precision technology to monitor that before it's widespread. So that's what I try to emphasize. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I like to collaborate with, animal scientists and the biomedicine, scientists to work on this issue together.
Thank you, Lingying, for bringing up again these creative housing solutions, which are called for in the legislation. Martin Draper is the next person signed up for speaking. the name just disappeared there. So I guess we don't have anybody wanting to speak right now. Give it a couple of seconds.
There we go. There we
All
go.
right.
I
Floor
did
is
not
yours,
have
Martin.
access to an unmute button, so I appreciate Pushpa for turning that back on for me. My name is Martin Draper. I am the Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Programs in the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University and Director of our Agricultural Experiment Station. First of all, I want to applaud the stakeholders that worked to get this program in place in Congress for actually appropriating the funds to address the production of fast protein from poultry systems. I think there's been a number of people that have really brought up some important points that need to be covered in poultry research. We've talked about biosecurity. We've had inferences to epidemiology, talked about nutrition, animal welfare, production systems, workforce development. I think all of those things are important, but they may not necessarily all be something that we can fund in the limited resources that we have for this program. I do think it's really important that the language appears to suggest that this needs to be an integrated program with research and extension. There's mention of technology transfer in the language that NIFA shared. And I think that's important to make sure that the research that we accomplish is made available to producers. But I think that as we look at that $1 million, that scant $1 million to address the huge issues that we're looking at, we have to be careful to only fund programs at a level or projects at a level that can be impactful. So we could nickel and dime programs and stretch those dollars and really not make the difference that we would want. I think looking at the citrus program gives us an idea of how we might be able to offer different kinds of projects that would be funded at different levels. And that I would encourage the agency to consider continuation funding as a way to stretch the dollars, recognizing that we have to go and make sure that those dollars are in the next appropriation as well. But I would also suggest that the agency consider encouraging poultry language in other grant programs to assure that applicants are aware of how those programs might also play into the need for poultry research. The CARE program comes to mind, and certainly workforce development has been mentioned already. So I think there's ways that we can address the issues with this program as well as others and stretch the ability to address the problems that are being encountered in the poultry industry. Thank you for your time.
We appreciate your thoughtful comments, Martin. Next, the person signed up for speaking is James Bird.
Hello, I'm Alan Bird. I am a research microbiologist at the Food and Feed Safety Research Unit in College Station, Texas. And whenever we start with any type of program like this, we need to focus on the gut health and how we can impact gut health. And when I say gut health, a healthier animal can defend itself against all pathogens, but can we impact that through the management strategies that are used on the farm, as well as understanding what's going on in the gut health through the bacteria or fungal population, viruses. And this management impacts that gut health all the way around. And some of the research we've been doing here is trying to investigate how salmonella gets into the bird itself. Most people consider that salmonella is coming just from the mouth and it's an oral process, but we found out that you can introduce salmonella through the skin or even through the feet. So what we're trying to do is earlier research pre-harvest, in that we can identify the best way to sample on farm to identify pathogenic birds or pathogenic birds that control have pathogens, and that we can focus on interventions before it goes to the processing plant, and therefore the producers can put intervention strategies in the plant to help control these birds that are indeed positive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. As of this moment, we don't have anyone signed up for speaking. And as Kathy Bjork mentioned earlier, if somebody desires to come back and have a few more minutes, I mean, as we have no speakers lined up at this exact moment, there will be an opportunity to do it. All right, seems like so far we don't have anybody. At this point, I would like to, oh, right. Kahina Bukherub, looks like you have the floor now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Kahina Bukherub, and I'm an assistant professor in avian reproductive physiology at the University of Minnesota. And I think when we talk about sustainability and its importance, we need to take into consideration the importance of reproduction and its role in sustainability. And also some people have previously mentioned the importance of having funding to train students in poultry research in general, but I would advocate for specifically training people in reproductive physiology. Our group as avian reproductive biologists is shrinking a lot, and it's really hard to attract graduate students who can potentially transition into working in avian reproduction. So that's just something that I wanted to bring up for consideration for this cycle as well as in the future. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Does that conclude your remarks, Kahina?
Yes, that concludes my remarks. Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. Well received. Marisa Erasmus, your next speaker.
All right, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Excellent. I'm Marisa Erasmus, an associate professor at Purdue University. I think one of the areas that's been largely neglected is the intersection between nutrition, health, and behavior and welfare. So there's a lot that we don't yet know about this intersection, especially for turkeys, but for laying hens as well. And so one area where we could really benefit from is looking at nutritional as well as occupational enrichments and devices. So how can you have the animals use different types of nutritional enrichments as well as other nutritional interventions within the diet to help mitigate skeletal health issues in turkeys in particular. So for tom turkeys, leg health is a major issue. And then as well as behavioral health issues. So some of these have already been mentioned, things like aggression, and then feather pecking and cannibalism. Somebody also mentioned ectoparasites. So this is becoming a lot more problematic in alternative housing systems as well. And so with the focus also being on alternative housing systems under extreme weather conditions, I think some focus on ectoparasites will be really important. And then lastly, trying to identify some more tools and technologies for early identification of health issues, parasites. There's all kinds of health and disease issues that we can think of. So I think these are some key areas that will be very beneficial to focus on as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate your comments. I've been noticing that some people have been sending questions to the NIFA team. This session, as was explained in the beginning, does not have that purpose. As soon as we get the RFA published, with the help of your input here today, then the two NPLs and other people on the team will be available for phone conversations to clarify any questions that you might have about scope, eligibility, and other things on the program. I see nobody signed up for questions right now or for comments right now. So I was going to revert back in the meantime while we wait for the next round of input. If anybody in the NIFA team wanted to provide any clarification, this would be again an opportunity to do so.
I just wanted to remind everyone on the call that we will stay for the entire 2 hours. So if you have already spoken, you can speak again. And if you haven't, we'd love to hear from you. And all you have to do is raise your emoji hand at the bottom of your screen and Frank will call on you. So we hope to hear from more of you today.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, so let's go back to Kahina Bukherub.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was, I didn't mean to raise my hand. My apologies.
That's okay. Because I have somebody that had her hand raised earlier and put it down. So Marianne Amalaraju, you will be the next one to provide comments.
Hi, thank you again for this opportunity. I am Marianne Amlaraju. I am an associate professor in the Department of Animal Science at the University of Connecticut. Thanks so much, Deborah, for taking my question. I just want to ask a follow-up. In terms of how this funding mechanism will be different from other NIFA programs, is the difference that this is specifically for laying hen and turkey research? Because some of this can also potentially be funded through other mechanisms within NIFA. So I'm just wondering if there's anything beyond the specificity of targeting laying hens and turkey research. Is there anything else that is specific about this program?
So Marianne, we're not answering questions about the program in this session. In the website that was posted there, it's on the screen. You can find all the information that we have at this point, and it will be, all these details will be specified in the RFA when it's published, okay?
Thank you.
Sorry for not being able to answer your questions today.
No problem, thank you.
So it looks like we're some people already stepping out of the call. As Danielle and some of my other colleagues have mentioned earlier, we'll be here until the next top of the hour, which will make the full 2 hours of this call. And if anybody wants to stay back or log back in until what will be 1 p.m. Central, we'll be here and happy to take your to take your comments, not your questions today. All right, no, we had a request for a second there. This also gives our colleagues that are doing the sign language interpreting a little bit of a break. Okay, Mustafa Hanem, you are the next one to provide comments.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I missed the beginning of that call, but the question that I had is when this RFA is expected to be released and where to look for it.
Dr. Bjork had a slide back there giving an approximate date for that. So maybe if Danielle can go back to that slide, that would have the answer for you. Danielle or Pushpa, I don't know who's, I can't remember who's managing the slides.
Also, I suggested that if it's possible to send the emails to the attendees of that session about when the RFA become out, that would be a very convenient way of making everybody interested, having a chance to be aware of that RFA.
I'll check with people that manage that to see if that's a possibility, but let's see, where is the slide there with the date? It'll be sometime in the spring, so possibly in the next 2 or 3 months. And then we'll try to get it out as soon as all the hoops are, we go through all the internal checks and external checks. And then it will be widely published and would be available also on the NIFA website. So I suggest to check weekly after, let's say, late March, start checking weekly there. And this is right there at our landing page. So it'll be a good place for you and all the other people that are interested to learn that it's being published.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ravi Kulkarni, you can provide your comments right now, please.
Sorry, I was unmuted. Thank you, Frank. I'm just coming back again. Thanks for the chance for the second window to share. Earlier I spoke on the need for research on clostridial diseases, and also listening to the various comments from different perspectives and stuff. I would like to give my input to the need for research which can take a little bit of a holistic approach, because we do know there are problems with the disease control without the use of antibiotics, improving gut health, nutrition, welfare, and so on and so forth. So, but I think in research we are moving into a direction where we would like to take an approach that would address more than one issue which is existing. Like, for example, if we need probiotics and vaccines for the disease control, in my case, I'll be biased to talk about the Clostridium because that's my laboratory focus, wherein how we can combine like 2 or 3 approaches into one to develop as one single approach that can in fact, devise disease control strategies, which would also satisfy on the nutrition front, as well as improving the gut health and so on. So that's the reason why I emphasized on the need for research, which can combine more than like one approach, and then that can also address the sustainability of the turkey industry or the layer industry, and at the same time producing a healthy bird and helping the healthy bird a little bit of disease and anti-disease immunity, and then I think that would be pretty helpful in terms of the needs that we would need it in the future. So we are moving more into it's not like one size fits all. So that's why we'll have to consider different sizes to custom make towards the betterment of our poultry industry.
Thank you for coming back and providing more comments. Right now, we have nobody signed up for comments. Okay, Clark Tibbs, you will be the next one to provide your input here for us.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, Clark, we're good.
Yes, my name is Clark Tibbs, CLARK-TIBBS. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I wanted to describe the phages, the bacteriophages that can kill salmonella. Just put it in the drinking water. And then the one gentleman was talking about Clostridium. The company called Intralytix, INTRALYTIX. That's INTRALYTIX. Intralytix has bacteriophage cocktails versus salmonella, E. coli, and other pathogens that are typically resident in poultry. You just put it in the drinking water and you're done. Another company called Aphage, WWAPHAGE, Aphage. So if you will just ask me to add you to my network on LinkedIn, I can share much more information. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Clark, for your comments. Richard Gerhold, you're the next one in our list here.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Richard.
All right, thank you. So I'm Rick Gerhold. I am a parasitologist at the University of Tennessee Vet School, specializing research in avian parasitology. Couple things wanted to note, hearing a lot of people talk about decreased number of people in certain professions, and I can't think of anything more than parasitologists and who we have lost in the field. It's hard for me to even name another 2 or 3 people who do poultry parasitology. So there's definitely needs to be avenues for training, maybe coordinating with the National Center for Veterinary Parasitology that actually does residencies for veterinarians specializing in parasites. But really also it comes to, we need to step back and do a lot more basic research on parasites. I think a lot of people assume comes to things like coccidia, nematodes, Histomonas, Trichomonas, that we kind of know most of it. And I would say we're very much in the dark on a lot of the basics that need to be there to build on anything further. You know, Histomonas is so unique in that it has hydrogenosomes and not mitochondria. And so that makes a huge difference. That's why we a lot of times can't use the same chemicals that we would use on coccidia on Histomonas or Trichomonas. They have different energy sources, which also goes to different transmission routes. We're finding things that we are changing transmission routes, everything from arthropods and other things being able to transmit blackhead and other parasites, and really improve diagnostics. We really struggle with that. You know, I do PCR for blackhead in my lab all the time. And, you know, still is only as good as if you can find the DNA, but we need to be looking for other volatile markers or something and increase sensitivity. And then one of the things I'm really interesting on that coming to blackhead that we're seeing so much more in replacement pullets and not just turkeys is understanding, again, transmission dynamics, everything from understanding the various arthropods, mechanical transmission that's occurring for any kind of potential means, and how the parasite can persist on certain substrates and the different ways to decontaminate. And I've been working, one of the things I'm really interested in that I think really needs some funding avenue is looking at things like composting of litter and what the necessary temperature, humidity, and other factors it takes to either inactivate the heterachus egg that is carrying the histomonads, the histomonads themselves, and then understanding, are these arthropod vectors just harboring the DNA of these histomonads, or they truly have the live histomonads in them, and how we can potentially look to inactivate them. So again, a lot of that basic science stuff needs to be funded so we can even know where to go next with applied research. So, and again, I really would like to see more people interested in poultry parasitology. I don't know if you had any other parasitologists actually chime in. I just joined this call now, but I'd be interested to know how many parasitologists are out there working on avian and poultry parasites. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate your comments on this area. Even we were generous with you with the clock, but thank you for staying within the 3 minutes. Looks like Dr. Ken Anderson is the next in line. Glad to have you with us today, Ken. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Yeah, I'm Ken Anderson, North Carolina State University Prestige Department of Poultry Science. Spent my career working with laying hens, and we are currently in a state of transition in the layer industry that requires a lot of multifaceted research and collaborative efforts across those of us working in the area, especially with layers. With the transition from cage production back to cage-free production and even range production, we're facing issues that have been enumerated by a number of previous speakers that cannot be solved just by one individual, or it's definitely going to have to take a group of individuals to deal with the changing genetics of the birds, as well as the changing environment as we look at behavioral aspects, the health aspects, both external and internal parasites, diseases that we have to face today that were not present, in the early part of my career, and how these things manifest themselves from the pullet phase all the way through to the layer phase. And as you move into the layer phase with the new, with the reversion back to cage-free production, we definitely need work in nutrition and getting people in the university system, in the research community, dealing with nutrition, especially with layers, is important. The transition from cage to cage-free production is going to require understanding of the changes in the microbiome of the bird, as well as how the bird is going to partition those nutrients that it uptakes, as well as what the bird is actually receiving from the natural environment, if we're talking about range production. So the problems are multifaceted, and I think it was alluded to earlier. We're really, it's nice to see this type of grant program and some specificity in this type of research program. I look forward to working in this area. But as was alluded to earlier, this is just a little scratch in the bucket or to solve some of these issues that we're facing currently and really for the kind of the foreseeable future in my perspective. Thank you very much, Frank. I appreciate the opportunity to say.
Thank you, Ken, for your comments. Well received here by the team. Jessica Wells is the next one listed for her comments. Please, Jessica. Still on mute. Should be okay now, Jessica.
Well, I thought it's me, Pratima. I'm using Jessica's link, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is Pratima Adhikari from Mississippi State University.
Welcome,
Can you hear
then.
me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah, hi, this is Pratima. I work primarily with Langham. I work with Langham Nutrition and Gut Health in this university, and I kind of second to what Dr. Anderson mentioned a few minutes ago about not only from a cage to cage-free and the nutritional requirement there, but kind of more looking into an extended lay, because Langham, we are still trying to find answers for the extended lay, since most of the major genetic company in the country or internationally, they are trying not to go molting, but go for a longer lay cycle. So it would be great if we can find something at the very late phase of the layers. One thing to control the egg size, of course, but then the next thing is very important is the shell quality. We still have very little knowledge on the mineral side of nutrition. So what about only not just calcium that goes majorly in the egg, even a little bit of phosphorus, but how about the micro trace mineral? I think that kind of area is very into the nutrition, and that will kind of lead into, of course, the gut health and microbiome. And what about it to understand the whole process of the layer health, especially in the late lay cycle? That's why I want to put my input here. Thank you for listening.
We appreciate your comments, Jessica. Thank you very much. At this time, there are no attendees signed up for speaking. And we still have a full 30 minutes that could be used by all the participants. Okay, Clark Tibbs has signed up to have a second go here. So Clark, please go ahead.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much again. The bacteriophage T4, the T4 bacteriophage can be used as a universal flexible carrier for the antigens of choice. In this case, we could talk about the H5 flu. You know, people are saying, maybe other people can come in and say the same. I'm hearing a dozen eggs is $4.50 a dozen. That's quite expensive. And it may have something to do with the war in Europe, may have something to do with other situations. However, the opportunity is the H5N1. And as I was talking to some people in various collaboratives, etc., they're saying nobody wants to eat the antibodies. Well, after you prepare the meat properly, the poultry meat properly, the antibodies would be cooked out. You wouldn't be eating the antibodies. So the same way to distribute this vaccine would be in the drinking water. I hope people will have interest in that, and you can just write to Clark Tibbs, CLARKTIBBS at LinkedIn, and I'll share that information as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your second round of comments, Clark. Richard Gerholt, or Rick Gerholt, has signed up again. So let's give Rick the floor once more.
Thank you. And sorry, I went over time last time. I'll be briefer this time. I was just also thinking, one thing I want to talk about is with free range birds, moving to this idea of free range birds is needing some surveillance on the various GI and other parasite species they may be picking up that could have both public health as well as you know, production health issues. Quickly, one of the studies we did looking at just free range birds around here at Tennessee, we found higher than expected levels of Toxoplasma antibodies, and that is a human pathogen that can be transmitted by ingesting undercooked meat. But also there are other factors that need to be examined that we really have no idea on, or the literature out there is over 50 to 60 years old. So needing, again, going back to some more basic information on the parasite distribution would be wonderful and very helpful for people to understand the zoonotic and poultry public issues. So thank you.
Excellent. Appreciate your further comments here, Rick. At this moment, we have nobody signed up for speaking.
Frank, this is Kathy. I just wanted to put in a pitch to everyone for written comments to the email address that's been posted a couple of times, and that's nifa.lht@usda.gov. We're very happy to accept 2 pages of written comments from anyone, in particular the speakers today who might have run out of time or people who have further ideas. Please go ahead and get those comments to us because we are incorporating all comments into the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We still have 25 minutes in this session, and we'll appreciate any further input so we can prepare a RFA that reflects the needs of the community. Florence Dunkel, you're signed up and the floor is yours now. Still muted? Okay, now you're unmuted, Florence. I still can't hear anything, Florence, if you're trying to speak. Yeah, we still can't hear anything from you, Florence. So maybe you try to mute your button and unmute it again. Or if that's done at our end, let's try doing that.
Hi, Florence. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear you right now. I know we had messaged about some other technical difficulties you may have had in being able to hear us. Just make sure that if you choose to leave the meeting and come back in, that you're sharing your computer audio and microphone at the same time. And if we can't get this resolved, we're happy to take your written comments via email.
Thank you, Danielle. Once again, we have no speakers listed here at this moment. On the last chat that was posted there, there's that email address where you can submit your written comments. And Florence in particular, if you aren't able to get us your comments orally today, we'd appreciate if you would send those to us.
Hi, everyone who's still on the call. It looks like we have 50 people. You're welcome to be here to listen to others, but we do encourage you to speak if you have thoughts or ideas on what can be included in this RFA and how NIFA can, launch this new program in this very important priority area. If you're just joining us, there are instructions on the screen, and we just ask that you raise your emoji hand and you'll be called on by Frank. We hope to hear from more of you in the next 20 minutes.
In the meantime, for those of you that need to leave, feel free to do so when you need to. As we mentioned earlier in this call, we'll be working your comments into the language of the RFA, and we encourage you to check regularly on not only on the typical places where you look for RFAs, but also on NIFA's website. This program is on our landing page. So if an RFA is published, the information will be posted there as well. We still have 18 minutes available if anybody wants to contribute to the future language of the RFA through your comments here today. This session will end in approximately 15 minutes. If you're here just to listen, you're welcome to stay. If you feel like you want to have a contribution to this gathering of input, feel free to raise your virtual hand and we will call you. Does Annie King want to make a contribution? I see her mic off. Please go ahead, Annie, if you want to speak.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, this is Annie King. I'm in the Department of Animal Science at UC Davis. When the call comes out, I would very much appreciate having a definition by what is meant by cooperation. Talking about cooperation within a department, outside of a department, another university within state, out of state. That's often a very vague term when it talks about what cooperation is. And so if that could be clearly defined, that would be very helpful.
Thank you. So at this time, I would like to remind the participants that there will be a technical system webinar after we have the RFA posted, where we will provide all the clarification about this program, including what is meant by cooperation. So then if a team is working on that, and we'll have that available to everybody that's interested in attending. Just a reminder, this call will end in approximately 10 minutes. So there's still an opportunity for those who wish to provide an oral contribution today to do so. Just raise your virtual hand and I'll call you by name. If you just joined us or if you came back to the call, we still have about 8 minutes left. And we're glad to take any lingering comments that you may still have for us. You're also welcome just to stay and listen. We're getting to that stage of the last call. We have just over 5 minutes left in this event today. This will pretty much be your last opportunity today to provide us with oral comments on what should be included in the RFA for this new program. Lawrence Donko, seems like you're back. Let's make a second attempt for you to speak now. Mute button still hit, so let's unmute first.
Very good.
Excellent,
Okay.
we can hear you. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
and I can hear you. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay, can I ask a question, or maybe I should say I am hoping that the turkey and laying hen initiative will include interest in the gut biome and particularly the prebiotic diets that are out available and being tested. And some of these include normal food of both turkeys and laying hens. And that is the insect issue. So that was my comment, very short.
Okay, thank you. We will make a note of that as well and take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Maybe we have time for one more comment, or somebody wants to return with another comment. So now we're just under 3 minutes here, so we'll stop collecting your input at this point. I'm going to ask Pushpa or Danielle to put that timeline slide back on the screen, please. I can make some closing comments here. So appreciate everybody participating today. Even if you're just listening, this is important. This is a process that we use to make sure that our programs are relevant and are addressing the needs of all the stakeholders. So thank you very much for all the contributions today. We will be working internally here and with our colleagues and other agencies to get the RFA published sometime in spring. As I mentioned earlier, please check back frequently at our website and on the typical places where you go to look for requests for applications like grants.gov and other places. And we will specify at that time what is the application deadline for the proposals, and the final awards must be obligated by NIFA by September of 2023, since this is a program that the funds need to be spent this fiscal year. There will be, as I mentioned a little earlier, a technical assistant webinar after the RFA is posted. So where we will, give more details about this, provide some clarification as some of the participants today have asked. And also NIFA staff, especially Kathy Bjork and I, as the national program leaders in this program, will be available for individual calls if you need to talk to us and check if what you're planning on submitting is appropriate for this program. We'll be able to give you guidance on that. So also want to extend a good thank you to our ASL interpreters, Debbie and Joanne, for being here with us the whole time. Appreciate your assistance today. And to all my colleagues in NIFA for the great job running this webinar. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your work week. And this concludes our webinar today.